Hi, Thomas. How are you?
Hi.
So we are here with Thomas BALMÈS, the director of Sing Me a Song, which is in the international competition of Biografilm Festival this year. Thank you very much for your film.
Thanks to you for selecting it.
Now, the film is about a young teenage monk living in Bhutan by the name of Pianki. Now, we know this monk from your previous documentary, Happiness, from
Yes.
2013. Can you tell us how you came across this character and why you decided to make a second documentary about him?
Well, when I decided to do Happiness, in fact, my idea was at the time to do the film I've just done now. But because of various reasons, like huge rains which stopped the arrival of the road and so of the electricity in the village, everything was delayed by years, and the previous films ended where it should have started. And so I always say that Happiness is almost like a prequel of SMS, but the main film and the main idea before I started to do any film in Bhutan was to do this one, was to follow the effect on one character who had never seen before any screen, neither television, neither internet, neither mobile phone, and to see him over through a few years and see what would be the changes on his life and on his character.
And how did you two meet?
So when I first went there to scout, I guess it was like 2010 or something like that, I just wanted to find one location in the country which was not connected to electricity, and there were only a few. One was like 2 weeks walk to reach the location, and the other one was 2 days. So I thought 2 days was already enough. So I just decided to do the film in Laya, which is a village where he's living. And when I reached the village after 2 days of walk, I just could only see him. Everybody was at home, and there was one boy running everywhere, doing some jumps and rolls and all that. So you could virtually, it was very difficult to miss him. He was very different from the other people living there. And on one hand, very joyful and very talkative, and on the other hand, very introspective and some kind of sadness in him. And this contradiction and this fact that even without translating anything he could tell me, I was never getting bored of like observing him either outside of the monastery or in the monastery. His expression was like, I felt so interesting that I decided just to follow him. And he was one of the few, and another reason why I picked him up, one of the few who had never left the village. Among the villagers, the 900 people living there, most of them were going down in the winter to reach some fields which were like warmer, and because it can get very cold in the winter in Laya, it's 4,000 meters high. But him and his mother were one of the few villagers who were never going down even in the winter. So I thought also that the arrival of all this technology and all these screens could be even stronger with someone who had virtually never seen neither a car or anything like that, which is a bit of the subject of the first film, but the real impact of the screens is more happening in Sing Me a Song.
Great. And you got to know him very well over the years, I presume.
Yeah, well, we always kept in touch because very quickly, as soon as he was in contact with all this technology, he was like always very active on all the social network. And so he was always giving me some news. But I didn't realize the situation in between Happiness and Sing Me a Song until I went there for the scout. And virtually the first thing I saw is one of the images you can see in Sing Me a Song, where we have all the monks praying and playing at the same time on their mobile phones. And just this image convinced me that it was worth doing a film, and that And then at the time, I absolutely had no idea about the story, no idea about the love story, no idea about him leaving and going to town. And this is where I'm working. I'm just like very touched by something which is purely visual, and then the story comes in the second time.
Yes, I was actually going to ask you about that, how the second character in the film is his would-be girlfriend, and how you approached her, how you involved her in the documentary.
Well, when I discovered that he was like participating in all these WeChat groups, which were like various, there were like some groups where he was sharing some ghost stories with other monks, some other like kind of singing contests with monks, some singing contests with girls, some dancing contests with other people. They were like doing a lot of exchanging of videos and singing and all that. And there was one girl coming back, and he was like more interested in her than the others. I asked him, do you mind if I go and speak with her and check if she's agreeing of me following the two of you having this kind of online conversation 2 days apart of travel? And he said, yeah, no worries. And just when I spoke to again, she was very keen on me following her. And this is what I did. So I never really shot in the same time, but I was like shooting either with one or the other over the 2.5 years of the shoot. And this was very simple. I had someone in both locations for the whole shoot who could in advance let me know Bianchi is really feeling like leaving the monastery now and wants to go, so I could come and just be there in the right time. I didn't spend the 3 years on the location myself, but I had someone there, and we were also communicating together for me to kind of anticipate every big move that would happen during the shoot.
Okay, and yeah, you clearly seem to have really great access to the characters, and as you said, having built a relationship. I wondered how you maintain also a certain level of distance with the characters while they're going through quite important turning points in their early adulthood. How do you follow their emotional turmoil without getting too involved?
Well, I mean, I guess this has been the case for like the last 25 years where I've been shooting, and we have a kind of very close and very at the same time very distant relationship. He's calling me father. He doesn't have a father, and he's always asking me for some advice, which I don't give him, apart from some kind of educational thing. Like right now, for example, he's wondering if he shouldn't become a filmmaker himself. I could share with you some kind of videos he's doing. So we are speaking with some local fixer to try to find ways to help him to find his way, because he's not sure of becoming a monk, or he wants to maybe become a trumpet teacher for the young monks, but maybe living outside of the monasteries. He's always been interested in many things, but his real family is definitely the people in the monastery, as he's never really felt close to his mom or his brother and sister, which are all half brother and sisters. So his real family for a long time now are really the people in the monastery. But in the same time, he is really so backward in terms of studies and in terms of Sanskrit, which doesn't allow him to grow up in the monastery order, and is always like very backward because he doesn't remember the things he should remember. He doesn't know how to read and all that. So he wants to have one foot in the monastery and one foot outside. So basically we are speaking about all that, but when it's coming to the film itself and what is going on with his love stories and all that, I just try to not get too implicated myself at all, to let him decide for himself.
And I have to admit, this was an incredible film to watch under quarantine conditions these past few months. You are well known for your cinematography, And I was really blown away by some of the beautiful landscapes and the beautiful shots. You're sort of transported to this fantastic land, which we much appreciate during this time where we're in lockdown.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you see these images of people very close up to their screens. Another experience that we have at the moment. And the engrossing detail of someone absorbed in a screen, which makes you reflect a bit about social interaction. Would you say that that's a concern of yours, the notion of escapism and communication that you can have with these new technologies, especially under these conditions, or perhaps in a country like Bhutan?
Well, this is definitely the reason why I decided to do both films. And I guess it's a way for me, again, like many other things that I've done, to find a way to bring up this discussion even among my kids and my family, where I would say the main argument we have is how to deal with what is enough in terms of like time you should spend in front of a screen. And I have 3 kids myself, and most of the arguments we have in between myself and them is connected to that. So, and I'm always surprised about how the world changed in their relationship. The whole world changed in the relationship with these screens, and how little films are being made on the subject. And to me, this is maybe the most crucial change the world has been going through. And I'm always very surprised about how little interest it raises among filmmakers or writers or wherever. And so I felt that trying to have this very feature film-like treatment in terms of like cinematography, in terms of editing, in terms of music, in terms of like to do really something for this generation, especially, it could potentially bring up some kind of discussion, and not being too moralistic and judgmental, but just as a starting point of like of a discussion. And this is what brought me to craft the films this way, and to spend that 10 years almost on these 2 films, because there is not a single day where this is not kind of like interfering in between me and my kids, but even with everybody. And I remember like 20 years ago, I was doing a film in Japan, and I was traveling in the metro, and I was seeing every Japanese, which are like much before others people, these kind of screens in the metro, and everybody was like that. And this looked like science fiction totally at the time, and you could never expect the whole world to very quickly go in the same direction and follow the same kind of habits. And everybody was like visiting Japan, felt they're actually crazy and really insane, and then you see the relationship with their mobile phone, and I think the whole world is exactly the same, whether it's Bhutan, New York, or Italy. It's just like, and Bhutan came from no relationship at all to the biggest consumerism of screens in all Asia. So this is another thing interesting. It's just whatever stage, whatever your story or your relationship, there is no way to resist this kind of addiction. And to me, this is usually problematic. And so if we can at least start a little bit of a discussion about the obviousness of this presence of a mobile phone that you bring in your bed, that you bring on every single minute of your life, I think it's going to be interesting. And I'm just kind of like frustrated, because this is really a film I made for the big screen, and there is some kind of little of a delay with this COVID for the release of the film on a big screen in many countries where it was supposed to be released on theaters. So it's great that you are still managing to go through online. But it's true that it was very important for me also cinematically to do something for the big screen. I think the way it's been shot and the way it's been done is definitely made for a theatrical.
Yeah. I mean, it's very immersive. The scene of the 2 young monks playing in what seems to be a very high-tech games
VR. Yeah.
shop. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that seems almost like I see a parallel between that and the temple, perhaps, the sort of level of worship. Did you have any thoughts on the
I mean,
relationship?
when you see on the morning he's waiting with some other monks to go in a kind of game parlor where they're going, and it's really something which is happening on every Sunday morning, because on the rest of the week most of the monks, they are in the monastery and they're not allowed to go outside and play, and on the Sunday morning they are the one which are mainly in this game parlors, because this is the only day they can do it, and this is the first thing they want to do if they have a free time, is just go and play to this Call of Duty games and all that. You know? If it doesn't raise some kind of questions about the meaning of all this, I don't know what would, you know. And you can speak with the teachers and with everybody there. No one really sees where is a problem. You know, they don't, even the head lamas and all that, they are also addicted, you know, and I didn't put it, but there was one very funny moment where one of the head lama was like saying to one of the monks, you shouldn't play that much on the mobile phone and all that, and at the same time his phone was ringing and he was on Facebook, and another phone rang, it was also his phone, and he had two phones like that in the same time, was saying to one child, you shouldn't play that much with a mobile. So it's whoever and whatever they say, they're all under the same conditions. You know, when TV arrived in Bhutan, there are like 60 channels, and which were all brought by the star system from Murdoch. And so you had like BBC, you had like Discovery, you had like the main two programs that the people were watching in Bhutan were like porn and American wrestling, you know. And this is the same thing in France. I don't know about Italy, but I guess it's the same. Whatever is the offer, people are going to get for the worse and for the, you know. And in France, we have Arte, which is a fantastic channel which has been co-producing this project. But the ratings of all these very good channels is tiny, like 1% or maximum 2% of what the people watch. And it's always the same kind of people who are watching that, and definitely not the young generation. So in between democracy and who should be in charge of what people could see was an option at the time of TV. Now that internet is taking so much space and that TV is so much back in terms of what the people watch, it's even more delicate question of how to manage that. But nevertheless, I think it's worth. And definitely in Italy, I think it's also interesting what's been going on with TV and media and Berlusconi and the politics and everything. I think it's a thing which should be discussed, and I think there is so many things to be discussed that I don't want myself to just do anything else that just potentially stock some discussions in a few locations where the film is going to be shown. And basically what I've been doing for like the last 25 years with Bosnia Hotel, with a Western war seen by some traditional African warriors, with Maharaja Burger, which was about the way we eat and our relationship with food, the mad cow disease seen by the Hindus in the relationship with the holy cow, then the conversion of some people in Papua New Guinea. And every time I'm just trying to change paradigm and to have the people looking at the impact of the Western culture and the Western way of thinking to some very traditional cultures, looking at it through our impact on their culture. And this is, I would say this is the only thing I know what to do. And this is my way of doing stuff. And this one, I really wanted to do potentially to be as distant in all the craft as what a documentary, the people expect from documentary, and to really have this kind of a double editing, to have this use of music, to have the lenses and all the tools we had were something I don't think any documentary has been using, the kind of camera and lenses we have used for that project. It was like very specific cinema equipment we had, and the flashbacks and everything are like the usual tools you have in fiction. And this has been an interesting experiment for me to do that, and I'm not sure what's next is going to be, but I might go even like for the next one straight to pure fiction. I don't know.
Really? Well,
Maybe.
I read an article recently in which you revisited some of the children that featured in the Babies documentary of 2010. So this was exploring the first year of life of 4 babies in Mongolia, Namibia, Japan, and California.
Yeah.
And you, in this article, you explained perhaps where the kids were now. Would you consider making a documentary following their lives further down the line?
Yeah, I mean, that has been one option at one case. I'm not sure anymore of doing that with the same kids, but I might start again with a new casting and starting a kind of like 7-Up Michael Apted kind of documentaries. And maybe a kind of worldwide Michael Apted because 7-Up was only in the UK. So yeah, this is something I'm considering, but we'll see. I don't know.
Okay. Well, we really look forward to seeing your next projects, and thanks again for singing me a song. And good luck for it in the international competition.
Thanks a lot.
And we look forward to introducing it to the Italian public.
Perfect. Bye-bye.
Thanks for your time. Goodbye.